You know the truth, and what you know will set you free. Freedom comes from what you know. There are many of us who are free, but we don't know.
Well, we're at the last episode of season 1 of Uniquely Designed. Thank you for those who have watched every last one of them. Some of them commented, shared, whatever you've done. This was new for me, and I thank you for your support. I appreciate it so greatly. Today's conversation, the last conversation of this season, if you live in the hood, or maybe you live in the holler, or you're somewhere in between, I have someone who really, this conversation will resonate with you. I'm talking with Charles Booker. Yes, it's a great conversation. Surprisingly, it's not about politics, but about how faith, purpose, destiny, how it all intertwines together and leads us to the path that most not just serves what we're here for, but it winds up helping people. It's a great conversation. I don't want you to miss it. So go ahead. You can text someone from the hood, or you can call somebody in the holler. Whatever you want to do, tell them not to miss this conversation. This is one you don't want to miss. Thank you again for tuning in to this season 1 of Uniquely Designed. Season 2 is going to be fire. Let's go into this conversation. All right, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in again. And I'm so happy to have our guest. And thank you for being with me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And how your schedule is all over the place. And I thank you for being on here today. So I want to start here, and I want to ask, because one of your tagline, something that you say a lot of, is that you are of the people and you didn't plan to be a politician, right, and how you stumbled into it. And it made me think about how many of us have some type of background, or a teacher or a principal or something that when we grew up, we said, hey, that person is where my life shifted. So I wanted to see, was there some influence earlier, other than just seeing the news and seeing what's going on in your city and seeing what's going on in the neighborhood, that shifted you to say, hey, I need to go in this direction?
It was in part a person, but it was also an experience. And so the thing about me, none of my family comes from politics. Both my parents dropped out of high school, and I went to law school because I wanted to be someone that spoke up for my community. And not having a support network around me to tell me this is what you do, this is where you go, I sought out mentors. And so I got out the phone book. So I'm dating myself. And I called through everyone in the attorney section. So I just went down the line trying to find folks that would give me advice, because I was new to this arena. And one of the folks that I came across is a state legislator, Gerald Neal, state senator. And I reached out to him saying, well, can I meet with you to talk about law school and the legal field? Eventually, he gave me the chance to meet with him. And he told me the only way I could do it is to go with him to the state capitol because he was so busy. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do anything. So I'm going to get in the truck with you and go to Frankfurt just so we can talk about law school. And I found myself in the state capitol building. And I sat in the committee meeting waiting to talk to him and realized that they were talking about me. And my eyes were open like, wait a minute, what's going on in here? You all are talking about my life, but you don't see me. And it really lit a fire in me to say, we need to be in here. I looked around, no one else looked like me, a young black man, and could speak about living in the hood and living through struggles that I saw. And from that moment on, I wanted to work my way into government. So it wasn't just about being an attorney. It was about helping to shape the laws.
To how was that conversation? Because you did say you dated yourself. Now, I was born in the 80s too. Yeah. So you can't date yourself more than me, So you talk about flipping the pages, Most of y'all who are listening, if you're younger, you don't know. It's a book.
What's a phone book?
It's a book we used to have that had the yellow pages in the back and the white pages in the front. If you were not a part of that, don't worry about it. Don't log off. But how did that conversation go about getting into that at home? Family, friends?
Yeah. The first person I told was my mom. She's been my counselor. So Both my parents are ministers. Grew up in Pentecostal church, and my mom's an assistant pastor now. So whenever I have a big decision, I call her and she gives me advice. And I told her, I think I want to go and work in government. I want to get involved in politics because I don't see a lot of us in there. And she told me what she always tells me is let the Lord order your steps. And I've been obedient to what's been pulling on my heart the whole time. And it's led me to this point where I'm running for U.S. Senate.
Yes.
And I never thought I'd be doing things like this, but I knew I had a purpose. I was the person that spoke up for everyone else, even when I was little. And so this has given me the chance to speak up for Kentucky. And I'm grateful for the journey I've been on.
You said something that those of you who are watching or listening to this, that seems to come up in every single conversation where purpose started to draw you or started to pull you. And you said that you were raised in a Pentecostal persuasion, which of course I have that same influence as well. I want to know, because most of us who are raised in any type of faith movement, whatever that is, and those of you who are not, it's okay. But for those who have been, we are not often, there is no politician Sunday school class, politician's prayer call. There is no altar call for those who want to influence law or legislative.
It's not
there is deacons, and there are preachers, and there are ministers and choirs and parking lot attendants and the children's ministry. But we are often taught, and I could be wrong, but I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate, that most of us always say, politicians are liars. So we bring them in to pray for them. We don't teach our young people to become them, to influence them. So how did that, especially as you said, your mom was a counselor, shout out to her, mom, minister, and, that my grandmother was a Church of God in Christ, so she was a praying woman as well, but that she didn't discourage that. That's really a great thing. So I wanted to kind of hinge on that.
Yeah, well, even when, and we can dig into some of my politics too, they come from a place of humanity that wasn't really talked about in the church. I grew up, like I said, in a Pentecostal church, so there were certain things we did and didn't do. If I had shorts, they had to be at my knee. We couldn't go to the movies for a while, and my mom always let me ask questions. She didn't hold me back from pushing for the truth. She gave me the chance to find it for myself, and I'm so grateful for that because, I support the humanity of all people and making sure that no one's discriminated against, no matter where they come from, what pronoun they use, how much money they have in their pocket, whether they're walking or using a wheelchair. My faith undergirds that. But yeah, man, we're taught to push through the struggle. Yeah. The struggle is going to be there. If we just hold on, we're going to get through it. We never really taught about the fact that some struggles don't have to be there to begin with, and that we can actually shape the environment where these struggles happen so that they don't keep happening.
Yeah.
And I stumbled into that, and I'm grateful for the realization that not only can we get through things, we can move things out of the way. And that's what I inject into my politics, that we don't have to accept poverty. We don't have to just survive poverty. We can end poverty. Yeah. We don't have to just work through racism and tussle and battle our way through to get up on our feet. We can pull it up by the roots. Yeah. And my faith tells me that we can do that. And this is not me preaching to folks or trying to put my faith on folks. It's me shining my light. And it comes from a place of love for everyone that I meet, and it's something that is really leading a powerful spark in our campaign where people across Kentucky are saying, you know what? I see it. Yeah. We can do this together.
Yeah. So from the hood to the holler, started from.
Yeah. Look, that fell on me. And like everything goes back to the church for me. We do call and response, and the spirit of demonstrations and protests. There is a lot of that energy where you are putting out themes and you're mobilizing folks and you're finding these chords that can get people ready for the work ahead, and I was trying to think of a way to show how we can bring people together and lift up our common bonds. And people get shocked when I say this, but I was a director at Fish and Wildlife.
Okay.
All right, so I'm from the hood, you know,
Okay.
and I told them when I first started working there, when I hear gunshots, it's not for elk, you know. But I was there, and I had the chance to deal with trainings, and I was over HR, so I traveled all over Kentucky, and I would sit down with folks that didn't look like me. I'd go to parts of Kentucky where I didn't see anyone else that looked like me, and what I learned from my ages growing up in the hood is when you come into somebody's neighborhood, you got to earn their respect. And so I would tell them who I am. I would tell them my story so that they can know who they're dealing with. And every time I did that, they would say, you know what? I've done that. I've been through that. I got an uncle like that. I've seen that. And I just realized that we fighting so many of the same battles. So what if we fought together? And when I went to Eastern Kentucky and I first had the chance to see what's called a holler, it's beautiful. You know, it's typically in between the mountains. It's in a valley area. It's sort of like an isolated place where there's some homes, a water source, one way in, one way out. And when I started talking to folks, I was like, man, this is like the hood. It's not really a lot of black people here, but it's like the hood. And so from the hood to the holler was a way of drawing that common bond of the things that we're experiencing, the challenges we're facing, so that we can build together.
I met some people that I know that are very close friends that are from the Holler. I didn't know what that was. I actually thought they were saying holler. I mean, I didn't know what they were saying. I said, "You saying holler?" They said, "We lived in the Holler." I said, "Are you saying you holler or you live in the Holler?" I was confused. And when they explained it, you know, I do relate to that, even though I wasn't raised in the hood. But I do understand what I feel or sense that you are reaching for as it relates to community.
Yeah.
And that everyone, regardless of the Holler or the hood,
Right.
Has a commonality, purpose or needs or whatever. Right. Have you found that to be the thing that causes you to reach across the aisle when it comes to people that don't look like you?
Yeah.
Like you said, going into the hood, you had to earn respect. You
Right.
know, do you feel that sense when you walk into every room that you're trying to, in some sense, look to see what the connection points are?
Always. I was taught that growing up. So I come from a really big family, so I'm one of over 70 grandkids. So yes, I'm not lying. It's a big family.
Yeah.
And my mom is one of 11 biologically. And then my grandparents opened their house to foster care. So for like 50 years, they were bringing little ones into the house. Their home was the community home. So whenever I go to grandma's house and I was going to get something to eat, there was someone there I didn't know that was getting something to eat too. And so our family just kept growing and growing. And in order to get anything done, you know, in the spirit of building community, you got to meet people where they are. You got to understand what they're thinking and what they're doing. And so going into the state house, I was the youngest black state legislator in Kentucky since the first one. So it's been nearly 90 years. And I'm a Democrat and I'm a young black man from the hood. Black legislators have a tough time getting legislation heard. So I had a lot of things working against me. But the gentleman in the chambers that I sat beside, he's Republican. He's a type 1 diabetic. I noticed that he was eating snacks like I was, because I'm a type 1 diabetic. And I shared my story with him about nearly dying. And he told me his story. And we agreed to work on some legislation together. And we got a bill passed to prevent folks that when they run out of insulin, prevent them from having to go without getting it. They can get an emergency refill from their pharmacist. We passed that in my first session, and it was because I found a common bond with him. And so I'm always looking for ways we can build, even if we don't agree on everything.
Yeah. You said something that I think is rich as far as you sitting beside someone who didn't, in some sense, believe like you, vote like you, see through the same lens, but the story, the art of storytelling and the art of communication, which is, of course, an oral tradition that has been passed down through much of our who we are and the fabric of who we are. What do you feel through your policies that you are planning to implement or present through your platform through the whole state of Kentucky that is vast and has many different things? What are the common stories that seem to be, no matter what zip code or area they in, Holler, hood, or suburb,
or
whatever,
in between,
that there's a commonality of stories?
Yeah. And And look, the most power, and like you called it, I grew up on storytelling. So much of what I learned about my history was from my granddad, keeping me up throughout the night, telling me stories. And now I find myself telling his stories, on the floor of the House of Representatives, for the entire country. And, being able to tell the story is so powerful. I see these common themes when I travel across Kentucky that come back to family, taking care of home, being safe, not wanting the government to hurt you, and love, family. And I think we've allowed those themes to become partisan when they aren't. That's bigger than party. Faith is a theme that is like, just, of course, as you can see in me, it undergirds everything I talk about, but it's very, very present in Kentucky, in not politics in a good sense as much. We're changing that, but it's very present in society. And if we can speak to those themes and give folks more perspective on different types of policies that honor those themes, I talk about everyone having health care, and I speak about it from a place of love for my children. And, if you are a parent or a guardian, or you've had a chance to have a connection with your parent, the power of that love. Yeah. And when I talk about needing health care, because when I ran out of my insulin, I nearly died from diabetic ketoacidosis. So I couldn't lift my arms to hug my girls. And the reason that happened to me is because I had a week until payday. I could either get my refill, or I could take care of my daughters, make sure they have food for the week. And I chose my daughters. So when you tell that type of story, it doesn't matter what party you're in, or if you vote or don't vote, you know what that's about, and if we can lift up those types of common bonds and these through lines, we can bring more people together.
When there was the Breonna Taylor, when that happened in Louisville, you were oftentimes seen on the front lines. Do you feel that sense of, and for me it speaks, that sense of village family rises up when one of us gets hurt? And I say that as it relates to everybody who's watching. Your village doesn't always have to look like you. Right. Your village doesn't always have to be the same gender or the same belief whatever, but the same blood runs through. And if it affects you, even if it's next door, it still affects me. Yeah. Was that what drove you to be present, to say, I'm not just going to sit by? I know it was in your city, but that was the thing, that same thing as you said with your daughters. It was a choice.
All of what you just said. It's that thing of, if you fighting one of us, you fighting all of us. If one of us is hurting, we all hurt. Like I told you, all my cousins. So if one of them was in a fight, we was all in that fight.
You don't want the fight with the cousins.
Nah, because we roll real deep.
You don't want it.
But when Breonna's door was busted down, I felt like mine was. And I've often said this before national media and folks across Kentucky, that when her door was busted down, yours was too. And when I saw folks go in the streets viscerally in pain, grieving in the streets, I had to be there. Because those moments when you lose a loved one and the pain is so present, my family comes together. We'll go over grandma's house, or we used to. And I felt like I was going to grandma's house. And it didn't matter what it meant to my run for office. That was the most important thing I could do. And the powerful thing out of it is people all over Kentucky and across the country realized how important that was. And folks weren't even giving me a chance. Like, they weren't even acknowledging that I was in the race. And then that moment happened where they saw me just doing what I do. And they were like, well, who's this black guy running for Senate in Kentucky? Wait a minute, he's bringing these folks together. What's happening here? We didn't think this was possible in Kentucky. And that energy, that light, and that conviction for community and family is the centerpiece of how I know we will win this race, and we will win whatever other race we have to win.
You seem to capitalize on moments. Even when you had that very close run, many people sometimes tuck their tail in and go away. And I tried, it didn't work. But there's something, of course, there's the commitment to justice, there's a commitment to equality, there's a commitment to faith. They continue to undergird you. That, of course, has been the common theme of this. But how do you recognize the moment? Do you feel like you're called into the moment, or you see the moment? Do you feel pulled to the moment? You wake up like, this is the moment, because there's a lot of people who are watching. There's a lot of people who are listening who, there are many people who the moments always keep to pass us by. And then we say, I wish I would have. I should have been a part of that. But you seem to be in line with the moments that come into your life. I think that's a really key thing to not miss out. I almost feel like Hamilton, don't miss your shot. So how do you keep getting a part of your, leaning into those moments?
Well, it's a combination of things. One, I always look for them. I used to say this prayer, Lord, let me see you in the little things. Just let me see you today. And so I'm always looking for the chance to do what I feel like I'm being called to do. I don't know how I'm going to show up all the time. And so I'm always prepared. I'm always ready to shine my light or to live this ministry I have in me, and to tell the story. I'm always looking. And so, some of it is, studying, preparing yourself and doing the work. If your heart is about the work, and what I want is more folks to get involved in politics because they're doing the work, not because they're looking to be involved in politics. Do the work, and you will find yourself bumping up against politics because the laws are shaping everything we do. And over the years of me just doing this work of building community, focus on breaking down barriers of inequity and, uprooting poverty and racism, I just keep finding myself in these spaces with the chance to take the shot, if you will.
Yeah. Those of us who, because there are many people who are not involved because they don't understand.
Right.
We don't understand because a lot of times it wasn't presented us right. We don't understand sometimes because sometimes the media or the shaping of the news is more for entertainment than it is for, there's many various reasons why a lot of people don't even get involved. But how can people become more versed, not just in what it is that your platform or whatever, but how to help the community and how, because you can't affect a room you're not in.
Right.
You can't, you can either be a part of the solution or you're a part of the problem, So how can we do a better job, of rallying around what it is you're called to do as well as what we're all called to do? Because that's what you did. Yeah. You said, this is the moment. This is what I have. That's what I feel led and called to do.
Yeah. I'm trying to lead by example to answer that question because a lot of folks that were surprised that I was deciding to run for United States Senate, we don't even think about doing stuff like that, and I'm trying to help not only my own community, this entire Commonwealth in this country and beyond to know that we're leaving a lot of power on the table because of the rooms where all these critical decisions are being made that we didn't even know we should be in, or we didn't think we deserved to be in, and we don't know how to get in. And so one of the things that I'm doing with this campaign, I've been doing this work over the past year. The organization I launched is doing trainings for folks on teaching them how to run for office and how to be a citizen lobbyist. So how to organize your church, your youth group, your classmates, your neighbors, your cousins to push on issues that are important to you. We don't have to think about it as being politicians. We can just think about it as, well, we want things to be better. I'm pissed off about this. I really care about this. How can I help change things affecting it? That work is ultimately what democracy is supposed to reflect. And if we help folks, so for instance, with the no-knock warrants issue that was at the root of what ultimately led Breonna Taylor to be taken away from us, we started having a conversation around Kentucky, not just about what it meant for her door to be busted down, but what does it mean for you to be safe in your home? And here's what you can do. You can call your legislator and tell them that you deserve to be safe in your home. Tell 10 people you know. Call them, the legislator. Wear them out. And then you can write something and you can send it to your local news outlet. Here's how you do that. You can go on social media, and now at this time, on this day, everybody talk about what it means to be safe in your home and start building the momentum. And we were doing that, and the president of the Senate saw it because he started getting thousands of emails. And the Speaker of the House did too. And before the session ended, they ended up putting forward and passing legislation around no-knock warrants. Now, it didn't go as far as we wanted, but that wouldn't have happened if people didn't organize and make some noise. And so anyone, no matter how small your circle is, if you got 1, 2, 3 people around you, you can start pushing on issues. Get involved in your local government, go to your city council meetings, start meddling. School board meeting, you start meddling in stuff.
Yeah.
And the work will it'll naturally come to you. And like I said, I'm going to lead by example and help bring these resources across Kentucky.
Yeah, and that's that hood that just came out. You said start meddling.
Yeah.
Because that is the people underestimate the power that they have.
Right.
The power of the voice and the power of community and coming together and constantly making this issue. It's the issue that concerns me, and I'm going to not let up until you say something, until you change something or whatever. We have a commonality among ourselves because we're both a part of the Divine Nine.
Yeah.
Now, you came after the first, but there's always people that come after the first, but it's okay.
I appreciate the love.
But being a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, it's hard for those words to come out of my mouth because it's real cold on my side, but I understand. But how has that even helped to shape you as it relates to your platform and continue, because you're not just connected to something much larger to even yourself?
It really helped me transition my desire to push for change into how I lead for change. It came at a moment in my life where I had all of these burning things that I wanted to fight for and work towards. But I wasn't in a leadership role, and I wasn't a part of a coalition of folks that were pushing for leadership outside of my church. And so becoming a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated gave me the chance to look through the lens of leadership, because I became the POMARC for my chapter. And I had to take on the responsibility of organizing events and pushing on issues and raising money and building relationships. And so I think anyone who is gone through the process of becoming a part of these bonds, you learn about building infrastructure, you learn about building relationships, you learn about building community. And even now, when I decided to run for U.S. Senate, I call a lot of my frat brothers to let them know, look, we gonna do this, and I'm gonna call you and yours too, man. And
call us,
because this is all of us. This is all
absolutely.
of us. So yeah, it's been a really important part of my story, and going through tough times and knowing that you can make it when it gets hard. It's something I learned in my collegiate experience, and growing as a leader in my fraternity helped as well.
Yeah, I think that people sometimes underestimate the power of, as we've been talking about a lot, community, but the power of brotherhood.
Right.
And that it's more than colors.
Right.
It's an extension of the beliefs and the values and of systems of which I hold near and dear to me. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So yeah. I acknowledge y'all. I do. So those of you who are watching, I want to say this as we wrap up a little bit, that even though we have been going in and out talking about policies and different things, the whole undergirding of this is going to your purpose and to how you've been uniquely designed, to go into this area of influence. And I think that that's a really key thing that anybody who's watching whatever area of influence that they have, that they may capitalize on that,
Yeah.
And so I think that that's really good. So this is a section I call On the Spot.
Okay.
It's not as deep as the other parts. So I want to ask you, what is your favorite food?
Well, I love a good steak.
Medium rare, well.
Yeah,
well done.
medium, between medium, not too much medium well. It got to be just right, just
Okay.
just that right temp. But you know what? Like my wife is my wife is great with green beans, and green beans is a side dish you take for granted until you realize how good it can be. And my mom makes the best potato salad. I'll put her up against anybody. Best potato salad.
What is currently on your nightstand?
I have a dog tag of my cousin TJ that I keep on my nightstand. TJ was murdered on Easter Sunday in 2016. I have a pen on my nightstand that Governor Beshear gave me when he signed the executive order to restore voting rights for over 170,000 Kentuckians, because that was the bill that I was pushing on in the legislature. So that pen's on my nightstand. And diabetes for dummies is on my nightstand too.
Okay.
Because I'm still trying to get better at regulating my health.
Okay.
So.
Okay. What is your favorite thing to do in downtime, if there is downtime, if it exists in your life? I know it doesn't exist, but if it were to exist in this world, what would that look like?
Listening to some music, and sort of calming my spirit. I love good music, and I love basketball. I don't get to play as much. If I try to get up a few shots every day, I go outside the house, but other than that, I don't really know what a break is. Now, playing with my daughters.
Yeah.
I have two girls. Those are my bosses, Kaylin and Preston, and I actually got one on the way, at any moment now.
Wow. And
so being able to play with them, and my daughter Kaylin is a part of this group called the Real Young Prodigies. So they're rapping, but they're using their words to push for change in the community, like the Crown Act. So they went to Frankfurt and helped to pass an ordinance in Louisville. So just being able to love on them, that gives.
Watching you has helped shape them.
Yeah. I'm so blown away and proud and inspired by them, and I don't get a lot of rest, but seeing them is definitely my refueling.
Yeah. So if we were in your car, and of course I know you got drivers right now, but if we were in your car, radio comes on or something starts to play, what is it?
So right now I got her on repeat. The new album with Back of My Mind, that's on repeat, and Sir, is an artist out of California, real smooth. He sort of reminds me of like how I show up in politics. So I listen to like some smooth R&B. Other than that, every once in a while you might hear some rap. When nobody's around, I'll rap myself.
Okay, you rap?
Every once in a while. Okay. I might do a video here. I did one last cycle.
Okay.
You might see something.
Y'all heard it. Look for it.
There's a little bit in there.
I know you mentioned your daughter, you mentioned your wife, you mentioned your family, 70 grandchildren, I believe you said.
Yeah.
Coming together as community. When you look back years from now, you're young now, but if we were to imagine, what does legacy look like to you?
I pray that my legacy can be that I encouraged people to try something different, to come together and to fight against hate. I mean, it's never something that you beat and it goes away. You got to always be working at it. But if I can be a part of bringing people together in a way that shifts not only our politics, but how we function as a society, I've done what God has called me to do.
Yeah. Everybody who is watching, they need to know how to follow you, and they need to know how to connect. They need to know how to support. They need to know what they need to do now. So tell everybody who is watching how they can follow you, how they can get connected, how they can find out how to order your wife's green beans, all that type of stuff. They need to know. Let them know.
Look, she's gonna be like, "Why are you gonna lift up the green beans out of all the?" Her green beans are real good. If you can, join us right now. We are building a movement to transform our future. You can go to charlesbooker.org. That's my website. Sign up to volunteer, get updates on social media. Follow me everywhere. I'm telling the story as as much as I can. It's Booker, the number 4KY. So Booker 4KY. And you might see a rap video on there too.
For everybody who's watching, I would like to see if you could, maybe 30 seconds or less, someone who was looking through the white pages, who might be scrolling through Instagram right now, doesn't have white pages, but they're feeling there's a call greater than themselves and they just can't seem to define it. What would you say to whoever that is?
Oh, what I always say, you matter. Whatever you're going through wasn't meant to break you. It's a part of your journey that is going to allow you to do something big, and you deserve it. Every room you walk in, you deserve to be there. What's pulling on your heart, you deserve to pursue it. You deserve it. And as long as we know we deserve to lead, we deserve to be heard, we can always find the strength to lift our voices up. We can find it in there because we know we deserve it. So I've stumbled into this and I can walk in it. I can talk to you. I can talk to the country because I know I deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all heard it first. You heard it here. I'm so excited for all of you. Thank you for tuning in today. And thank you again.
Absolutely.
For even if you stumbled onto this podcast, thank you for doing that today. And I hope that you all follow him. Y'all make sure you follow him because we all need to see that rap video. I'm interested in it right now. So
yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
All right, y'all. Bye. Again for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, or even rate this podcast wherever you're listening to it, or comment if you're watching this on YouTube. And remember to share it with whoever you know needs to hear it. Until next time, breathe in, be the best version that you can be. Everybody else is taken. And remember to embrace your own unique design. I promise you, somebody will see you soon.